do want to restate the committee rule about masks and tell fellow members that on Monday I had a call from the Capitol physician that I was in a committee meeting, I don't know if it was this committee or another, from the prior week where a member came down with COVID-19 and I had to go and be tested. So it continues to be a real threat in the halls of Congress. Mr. Donalds, you're recognized for your 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm glad you're healthy. I hope the other member that tested positive is healthy as well. If that member was vaccinated, well, obviously that's another issue for another day. Let's just get right to it. Thanks for holding this hearing. Obviously, domestic terror in the United States is something that's very important. We must take it seriously. There can be no quarter for terrorism from anywhere, whether it's around the globe or here at home, against anybody in our nation. And I think we all share that same that vow of obligation to do everything we can to stop it in its tracks. Period. Full stop. But I do want to dig into some of the details. Mr. Langham, in the domestic terrorist assessment, the March 2021 assessment, it says that domestic violence extremists are motivated by a range of ideologies. At the FBI, are you actually have the ability today to actually quantify the range of ideologies that exist?
Thank you, sir. We categorize them in 5 main categories for domestic violence, and that is racially or ethnically motivated violent extremists, anti-government, anti-authority violent extremists, animal rights and environmental violent extremists, abortion-related violent extremists, and then a catch-all category are our overall categories that we capture the domestic violent extremists in.
Okay, so you guys quantify them to specific, I guess I'll say probably specific categories of politics, but not political ideology?
Not politics, sir, but ideology that would represent one of those. For example, within racially, ethnically motivated, we have subcategories for white supremacist-driven or other ethnic groups that would be driving that. So there is a way for us to capture it, and we do.
Okay. My last point, it is really an important question for you. We are discussing white supremacy, so I do want to bring up somebody who was deemed the black face of white supremacy, Mr. Larry Elder. He was actually dubbed that by a columnist at the Los Angeles Times. Ironically, while Mr. Elder was walking through a neighborhood, he was attacked by a white person wearing a gorilla mask who assaulted Mr. Elder. Does the FBI consider that to be domestic terror and/or white supremacy?
Sir, I have to look at the specifics of the case. So, in general, any act of violence
it was a very specific case. Everybody saw it. I mean, it was something that was easily. Well, let me take that back, Mr. Langham. I apologize. Not everybody saw it because it actually wasn't really reported that widely. So I will explain the scene, if you will. If there is a black man walking down the street who's running for the governor's mansion in the state of California and a white person in a gorilla mask assaults him on the street, does the FBI consider that white supremacy and/or domestic terror?
So again, any act of violence that would be committed against an individual as a result of an ideology of the individual. So we'd have to look at the motivation of that individual or possibly also a hate crime. We work with the Department of Justice to identify the particulars. Initially on a case like that, and again, it may be pursued right now by the local officials. We would work heavily with our local officials initially on identifying the fact patterns of the investigation. Again, as I mentioned, through our JTTFs, and quickly determine if we would be able to apply federal law against the individual on the investigation and at least provide investigative assistance.
I appreciate that. I appreciate your candor. And, I really do want to thank you, the FBI, the Department of Justice and Homeland, for your efforts to, frankly, keep all Americans safe. And with that, I yield back.
Thank you very much, Mr. Donalds. And coming now to my friend, Ms. Kelly, Robin Kelly, the distinguished representative from Illinois.